Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Football Martin channel. I am looking ahead to a big weekend's game for Southampton as we head to Middlesbrough to take on Middlesbrough. And no better person to join me on today's stream is that of Tom of the Borough Breakdown. Tom, thank you very much for joining me today. Talk to me
not
about
a problem
your
at all. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Mate, just let everyone know where they can find you. If you're interested in Middlesbrough, where can we check you out?
So we're across pretty much all channels. We're on Twitter at, I think it's Borough_Breakdown. I'm going off the top of my head there. Search Borough Breakdown, you'll find us. Instagram, Facebook, we're on YouTube. All of our podcasts and opposition shows are on there, and a lot of extra content as well.
Yeah,
and Spotify and all your podcast channels as well.
It's great content. I've checked it out this afternoon. You do some brilliant stuff for Middlesbrough. Talk to me about Middlesbrough. It's been a really tough start to the season for you guys. You did so well at the end of last season, mate. Where did it all go wrong?
I wish we knew, because we're all sat around scratching our heads trying to figure out what the solution is to it at the moment. We haven't won in, I think it's about 12 or 13 games stretching back to last season, and it actually goes so far as the playoffs. But really before that, as soon as we clinched playoffs, we didn't win that much more in the season. And the drop-off might have started then and kind of carried over. A lot of people will point to the summer recruitment and kind of say we've lost some big players and replaced them with more potential than like established players. But you've got to look at the players that we lost. Archer and Ramsey, we didn't sign until January, and we were winning games before them. So I don't think they were the main two that we've lost. It's Ryan Giles and Chuba Akpom. Obviously, Giles has gone to Luton. Akpom's gone to Ajax for around 12 million, which is a good deal financially for us, not so much in terms of losing what he brought to the team. But then the players we've replaced them with, we've got the likes of, say, Morgan Rogers from the Man City Academy. Sammy Silvera has come over from Australia and looked exciting before we signed him. We've signed a couple of players from Europe in Lucas Engel, Emmanuel Latte-Laff from Atalanta, and Bangura, Alex Bangura from Canberra in Holland. So not really established championship players, but it definitely seemed like we were trying to fit a profile of player in terms of what we were trying to replace and what we need in this system. And it hasn't clicked just yet, and it's been some awful football to watch at times.
And you played Wednesday last night, who were bottom of the league as well. How did the game pan out? For anyone that didn't tune in and see it, I didn't see it because I was obviously interested at what was happening at St Mary's. But what was the game like last night? Wednesday have really struggled as well. Were you looking to try and get that first win against them last night?
To be honest, I think both teams were looking at it from that going into it. They were both probably thinking this other team's not really had a good run of it. We can probably get a first win here and get some momentum. But that game, the politically correct way of saying it would be not one for the neutrals. It's absolutely terrible. Our first half performance was shocking. We were 1-0 down at half time. All of Borough Twitter was pretty much imploding at that point. And then we did come back in the second half. We got a goal, and then for a lot of the second half, it only looked like it was going to go one way. We just couldn't get that second. But no, a 1-1 draw with Sheffield Wednesday away wasn't what anyone wanted from that, and it really had people starting to loudly question things for probably the first time under Michael Carrick so far. If you check a lot of the Borough fans on Twitter, a lot of it is conversation around that now. Like, is he the right guy anymore and stuff? A lot of people think he's kind of earned that time to turn it around, but it's tough at the moment. He's making some decisions that are baffling some people, and we're just, like I say, we're waiting for it to click. We hoped it would be against Sheffield, but apparently not.
Yeah, Michael Carrick, I think it was spoke about a few days ago. I read an article. He was like the darling of the EFL last season, did a wonderful job. Everybody was talking about him going on to manage some of the top clubs in England. He's now fighting for his job at Middlesbrough with the club bottom of the Championship. As a fan base, you feel he can turn it around? And also yourself, Tom, do you feel that Michael Carrick can turn it around?
I want him to. I don't have a kind of strong feeling on it at the moment. I was on Blackburn's opposition preview show last week, and they were asking if people were starting to question Carrick, and I was like, I don't think a lot of the supporters are. Like I say, he's got a lot of goodwill carried over from last season, and we've seen what Michael Carrick can bring as a head coach at the best of times. So we really want him to turn that around. I think he is obviously well liked by a lot of the fan base, and I think a lot of the fan base as well are pretty exhausted by the fact that we tend to do this quite often now. Before, like you look at last season, we went, I think it was 11 or 12 games under Wilder, and we were bottom three before Carrick came in. Before that, we were mid-table under Warnock, and then he got sacked around the same time of the season, and Wilder came in. It's turned into a bit of a pattern. We don't want to be hitting the reset every season, so
yeah,
we do kind of have a set style and a set recruitment model and coaching model and stuff now as a club, which is good to see. We haven't had that before, so we would obviously like Carrick to turn that around. But if he can't, I'd be interested to see what we're thinking now, because this would be the first kind of real appointment that would suit that kind of system that we have. Totally hypothetical, of course. Like I say, I really want Carrick to get it right. It's just some of the in-game decisions, especially at the moment, I'm just like, why are you doing this? I
think some Saints fans are very similar to Russell Martin. Very similar here. Very similar. But for Saints fans that haven't watched Middlesbrough much this season, I've seen little bits of highlights, but I've not watched tons of their football. What can Southampton expect from Middlesbrough? What sort of style of football does Michael Carrick traditionally like to play as a manager?
Well, it is a possession-based game, and when we were doing that well last season, it was nigh on impossible to stop. You will see a lot of playing out from the back, a lot of a lot of Dieng, a lot of Dieng keeping hold of the ball, waiting for usually Hayden Hackney, although sometimes Lewis O'Brien now, to drop back in, split the centre backs, and really kind of play through the press. Unfortunately, that isn't working too well this season. So what you're likely to see is you will see that, but it will die off quite quickly and turn into quite a slow build-up and not really amount to anything if our first 7 games is anything to go by.
You just don't look like scoring enough goals. Something we started off with okay at the start of the season at Saints, but it certainly dried up over the last 3. Certain players, key players that we should look out for as Southampton fans. Is there anybody that has shone this season in a difficult start, or not really?
Not particularly. If he plays, Riley McGree would be one to look out for. However, there's a lot of discussion on like Borough Twitter at the moment over why he's not getting the start. Carrick actually came out in the press conference the other day, pre-Sheffield Wednesday, and really backed him and said he's going to be such an important player for us this season and stuff like that. He's not been getting picked in the starting 11, despite him being levels above our other players when he is playing. He scored a couple. Was it a couple or just one? I think it was just one, then an assist against Bolton in the Carabao Cup earlier this season, and it kind of really showed quality, and then was rewarded with a place on the bench for the next game. He does tend to look dangerous and is good at the combinations with other players when he is playing. It's just like I say, he doesn't get a look in for some reason, and Sammy Silvera is getting consistently 90 minutes despite not really doing anything. So a lot of the Borough fans would say Silvera out and McGree in is what they really want to see for the next game. But another person I would single out as a potential danger man if he does play again, he started on the bench yesterday, came on at half-time, was Isaiah Jones. The thing
I've heard about him.
Yeah, he's had some very, very good spells for us. The thing about Carrick's attacking formation is we do tend to play quite narrow. However, when Jones came on yesterday, he really stretched that play and made it a lot wider due to him being more of a traditional winger on the right and obviously sticking to the touchline. He did create problems for the Sheffield Wednesday defence, and if he's getting a start on Saturday, that will widen our attacking play and make us a little bit more dangerous in that respect.
It'd be an interesting game. How do you feel about Southampton coming to Middlesbrough at the moment? Southampton on the back of 3 defeats since over the last 2-3 weeks. The defeat at Sunderland particularly stands out before the international break, and then to obviously come back and get beaten quite convincingly by Leicester City at St Mary's, and then to lose to another team that started the season well in Ipswich last night at St Mary's. How do you feel about facing the Saints at the moment? They're the sort of team that you want to see come into the Riverside.
I wish I had that positivity, but I still think you're going to win. I know coming into this game that over the last 3 games you've conceded something like 10 goals, and the issue with us is that we can't score at the moment. So Sheffield Wednesday was the one we were looking at as like the big chance to turn things around. If we'd have beaten Sheffield Wednesday and done it convincingly, I'd have been a little bit happier going into Saturday. But I still, at the moment, fearing anything and anyone coming to the Riversides. QPR beat us at home. Huddersfield got a draw against us. Millwall beat us at home first game of the season. So even though you have had that record of conceding over the last few games, I don't think on current form you need to be worried about Borough when you come to the Riverside. The only thing I will say is the last couple of seasons when Russell Martin's been Swansea manager, it has looked fairly similar. In terms of like a possession game to what we're doing now. Last year, Swansea at home, we won fairly convincingly because it was that expansive. It didn't look like a lot of the Swansea players knew what they were doing. I haven't seen a lot of Southampton this season other than the first game where I'm sure you guys like broke a passing record or something. But
we looked good in that first game. James Ward-Prowse in the side, Nathan Teller as well. We've lost both of those players since. Things have gone pretty wrong since. Well, we had a little run of games where we did okay. First sort of 4 or 5 games we were okay, and then that's the Sunderland defeat. Was a massive turning point because of the damage done. We got a very, very young side of players, and all of a sudden confidence is rock bottom. I expect you'll give us a bit of a game the weekend. I don't think it'd be easy for us. We're a side that haven't got confidence. If we're the sort of side that can press us and force us into making mistakes, you'll get a bit of joy because we're players that are shying away, that don't really want the football at this moment in time. They want to pass the buck and pass it on at the moment. And we have a massive lack of leaders in our squad, and Martin's not going to change his approach. And he doubled down now. But there's a lot of fans down here that want him out already. He's only been in the job a short period of time, but football's results driven, isn't it? You have to, you come down, you want to bounce straight back, don't you? Like we're in a position where we've managed to keep hold of a few players, but if you don't bounce back up, you're going to lose those players plus your loan players, and you end up stuck in this division. And Tom, for those that don't know the division, it's really, really hard, isn't it, to get out of, as you found out?
Oh, definitely. I mean, growing up for me, like I'm 30 now, so a lot of my growing up was seeing us in the Premier League, Mendieta, Janino, Zenden, Hasselbank, Viduka, etc. All these quality players that played for Borough, and then we got relegated, and we've been back 1 season since. It's, I mean, soul crushing at times, this division, because it's that hard to get out of. But it's a very, very difficult division. You will obviously see before every season, or during every season, people say, "Oh, it's a poor division this year." Like apparently last year was a poor division, but you still had about 8 different teams fighting it out for playoffs, and Luton ended up going up. So it is like I say, very difficult to get out of unless you manage to find that formula and become like a Burnley or something and win it outright.
Yeah, it's a confidence game, isn't it? It's all confidence driven. Something that we don't have at the moment. We just look to have stopped scoring goals, which is a little bit of a concern, and we're just so leaky at the back. I think you'll be surprised when you play us at the weekend because any team could score against us. We're yet to keep a clean sheet this season, and I just feel that we're so vulnerable right now. If Borough do have a bit of a go and get a bit of a joy, what a lift could it be for Middlesbrough if they could get a goal against Southampton and get an early lead or get a lead at some stage? What's the atmosphere like inside the Riverside at the moment? They're sort of like going to really drive the team on because they're passionate fans. It's a big football club, and you look at it; it's a sleeping giant of that division.
Yeah, the atmosphere, other than the South Stands, where we've got Red Faction, our singing section, pretty much they keep going through the entire match. Anyone going to Riverside on Saturday, you will have to stand next to them and say that all game. We've got a drummer and everything. It'd be very loud from there.
Yeah.
The rest of the stadium, I feel, can be quite flat at the moment. There was a lot of optimism coming into this season. Then we lost 1-0 home to Millwall. Everyone was thinking, it was a tough game against Millwall. We can still have a good season. They weren't really thinking too much of it. Then what we've seen since then in terms of Huddersfield and getting beat off QPR. When we got beat off QPR, the amount of kind of disgruntled fans around me and people leaving early and stuff was more than I've seen in obviously Carrick's whole tenure. So it is starting to get a bit more flat, and people are starting to lose patience a bit in the Riverside. So I feel like the longer it goes on without a goal, the more we're going to be getting frustrated. And I don't know if you guys are seeing this now with Russell Martin. Obviously, he's got his own way of playing. He's got that possession style. We're very much the same. It's in terms of that patient build-up, I think when you're not winning, that can get on the fans' nerves quite quickly, and they just
it can. And I think you need. Don't you think that when you're a side that want to play possession-based football, you need confidence? Players need to be buoyant. Yes. They need to be in a good place. The football club needs to be in a good place. And when you don't have confidence to play out from the back and to play a possession-based game is almost an impossibility. That's what we're seeing. We're getting picked off by teams week in, week out at the moment because we just don't have the confidence. But we have to stop our rot really, really quickly because if you want automatic promotion back to the Premier League, things have to change really quickly. And a lot of Saints fans fear going to Middlesbrough already the weekend, just saying, well, they haven't won all season. I bet you anything that it'd be pretty saintly to go and lose at the weekend. So I think it'd be an interesting game. I was looking at the prior results, actually, Southampton, Middlesbrough, and we haven't played you. I don't know if this is right. This is some statistics I took off the internet earlier. May 2017, it's some time ago, back in the Premier League.
I think I remember that game. I think it was Patrick Bamford scored a header off a corner for us. But yeah, I mean, it's been quite a while.
A narrow win for Saints. Yeah, it was a narrow win back then. And then you go back to December 2016. Saints just about scraped at home. And then when we played the Championship, you've got to go back to 2011 and 2012 when we played you last. It would have been like in our promotion year.
Yeah, I remember that
Saints
game.
That division. Do you?
Yeah, Marwan Zamama scored a free kick at the end of the game, and I think it pretty much delayed you guys getting promoted by like a week or something. I'm pretty sure it was like that game you could have been promoted or could have been champions or something like that. And it was the most Borough thing ever. We'd done nothing all season, but we turned up for that game.
Just turned up for that one game. Before you go, I want to get your score prediction for the game. I'm going to give you mine as well. Something I always like to try and do on any little broadcast I do. What's your score prediction for the weekend, Tom?
Regardless of our current form, I always try and stay optimistic, and especially with home games. I'm going to go 2-1, which I think it was either that or 2-0 when we played Russell Martin Swansea at the Riverside. So I'm going to go 2-1. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. But that's what I'd obviously
My,
love to see happen.
my gut feeling is you'll get your first win of the season against us. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Borough win. Very negative from me, but I don't see things changing quickly down here. The fan base is pretty disgruntled already. I think another defeat would be a disaster, but I think it's going to be really tough for us to just turn the form around now. So, yeah, I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Tom, before you go, we can find you. What platforms you're on? Let everyone know what platforms you're on.
So we're on Twitter as like I said, Borough Breakdown. You search Borough Breakdown on Twitter, you'll find us. Facebook, Instagram, we're on TikTok, all the
TikTok's
podcasting
great.
platforms,
Yeah.
and also YouTube. Like I mentioned, we've got a lot of content on there, and the aim is to keep going with that.
It's brilliant. Tom, it's been great having you on. Guys, make sure you do give Tom a follow. Brilliant content they're putting out. I really appreciate your time this evening, and good luck for the rest of the season, Tom.
Thank you. You too.
But thank you, my friend.
Cheers.
That was Tom from the Borough Breakdown. My first match preview here on the At Football Martin channel. So delighted to do that with a really good fan in Tom. So thank you all very much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.